The killing of Daria Dugina. This is one of the most shocking murders that's taken place in Moscow since the 90s. And there are lots of questions tonight about who did it and why. So let's start with who possibly did it. There is a group called the National Republican Army that claims they did it. This group is unknown. Nobody knows anything about them except one person, Ilya Ponomarev. And there are those in Russia who say this may not be true, that this may actually be an opportunity for him to essentially do something that serves him and his motives, and this fits the pattern. We don't know what those motives are, but we do know that he says that that organization has given him permission, essentially, to say that they did it, and they did it because they're anti-Putin. There's also what Russia says. They claim that Ukraine did it. The question about Ukraine doing something like this is why? Would they take that risk? There are a number of experts that say no, they wouldn't take this risk because of what's at stake, what's going on inside Ukraine right now. They're more focused on dealing with that war. And doing something like this, even if it were out of revenge, just wouldn't fit the profile for Ukraine's intelligence, even though Russia says they did it. There's another scenario. A number of experts say it was a false flag by Russian intelligence. This seems to make a little bit more sense than anything else that we've heard about this so far, in that this attack would essentially, according to several sources, give the Kremlin and its leadership, and that would be Vladimir Putin, the opportunity to call up a nationwide draft. Why? Well, they would need that draft. They do need that draft because of Russia's failing and flagging performance in the war against Ukraine. They've been using conscripts and they've been using proxies like the Wagner Group. And in the words of one person, it's been a very ragtag approach to this war, and they haven't been doing well at all. So calling up the draft, getting the real professional army and getting it on the ground in Ukraine might make a difference. It would take a while, but it might make a difference. This is the thing that seems to rise to the top in terms of a possible culprit who might have done it. Now, taking a look at how it was done, there also seems to be some connection between the possibility that this might have been something that a very sophisticated organization might do, as opposed to some group like the National Republican Army or even some foreign intelligence organization. And it's because the way that the bomb, I'm told, was placed underneath the car, and the way that it was detonated with a remote or radio-controlled, encrypted radio-controlled timer, and military explosives, those aren't items that some ordinary assassin can get their hands on in Moscow and pull it off. And then there's the question of skill, doing this. How do you do this on a road, kill this person, and not kill anybody else around? That's another question that has to be answered. And the other part of this, too, that's very interesting, the investigation. Russia says it knows Ukraine did it, and they also know that one of the assassins escaped, or person involved with the assassins escaped to Estonia. Well, how do you know that? Barely 24 hours has passed since this took place. And this typically takes, investigations like this take oftentimes weeks and months. I mean, you're talking about a car that's been exploded into hundreds of pieces, putting those pieces back together, figuring out how it all came together, where the explosives came from, who came up with the plan, you know, how did this transpire in real time? You've figured out all of this in less than a day, and that has raised a lot of questions and a lot of suspicions. I don't know, but those are the facts that I've learned, or at least what's been represented as the facts about this situation. We'll talk to more people about it who are closer to it than I am, but there are a lot of questions to be answered about who killed Daria Dugina.